Start. The hour has struck. Welcome to everyone this evening. I'll officially call the meeting of June 10th, 2015 to order, and we'll let the minutes reflect that all of the board members are present, as well as a number of members of the staff, and we've got a number of guests as well. We have the May 27th, 2015 minutes before us, and would entertain a motion of approval for those minutes.
I'll move.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on those minutes? Okay, seeing none, the minutes will stand approved as written. Thank you, Lisa. Monthly reports. All of the monthly reports for May have been accounted for, so thank you to all the department heads for getting those in a timely fashion. Tonight we do not have any public hearings. We do have a couple of guests, and we're going to start with Ken Vasile, discussion of incentive zoning at 1080 and 1092 Penfield Road, and we would welcome anyone that would like to join us here at the table. So please come forward, Ken, and anyone else.
Hey, Tom, can you throw one of those down for me? Yep. Thank you. Thanks.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Adam Forsino. I'm work with McFarland Johnson. We're the site civil engineers for the project, and the project is incorporating townhouse development.
So if we could, maybe I was going to say maybe we could just so in case there's anyone in the audience that would like to see that, we can do that, and maybe we can just kind of turn it a little bit. So we're going to balance it so everybody can see it. If we could, please, Adam.
Yep.
All right.
Does that work?
That'll work a little better, and then folks have the opportunity to see that, and our cameras still have an opportunity to see that. Smile when you're chatting, so you get the.
So the current property is zoned R1-20, and this would be an incentive zoning scenario. That's why we're here tonight, is to gauge the town board's feelings on this. And as part of this process, we have laid out a potential layout for the site. Theoretically speaking, if it was developed as an
Conventional zoning.
R1-20, we can fit approximately 15 units in the site, given the current zoning, and with the proposed townhouses, we're looking at around 70 units. And again, detailed engineering hasn't been performed at this point. It's just more conceptual layouts, just to see from a financial standpoint what is potential for this site, as our client is trying to gauge what can be developed here.
Just for the record, where exactly is this?
Oh, I'm sorry. This is Penfield Road.
Right.
And this is the current produce market.
Gentles.
Yes.
Got it. Okay.
And so it's that
Yep.
parcel, and that parcel, as you see, goes
Got it.
quite a ways back.
Okay.
There is a steep slope E-pod that goes along the southern, or I should say, north is to the right, so it's towards the eastern side of the site. There is a steep slope E-pod. We have roughly approximated some stormwater facility sizes. Those are very approximate at this point. We would hope to use quite a bit of green infrastructure and try to minimize the size of any kind of pond or detention facility that would be needed on the site. Try to do impervious pavement or something more green, rain gardens, things of that nature. But we did try to reserve some space on both drawings for the stormwater facilities. And I guess to talk more about what the proposed buildings that would be here, Ken Vasile is one of the partners for the development team. I'll let you talk about the nature of the development buildings.
Yep. We are looking to try to create a soft transition into the area neighborhood by using 1,800 square foot condos, up and down, full basement, about 1,200 feet on the first floor. It'll be 2-bedroom and a bath on the second floor. With this in mind, we're trying to get away from having the look of a apartment complex, just sterile. We're trying to get a soft look from the road coming in, use of masonry on the outside, mounding, that kind of thing, trees, especially in the entranceway. We're trying to create some ambiance walking in. We're very familiar, because I live in that area, we're very familiar with the residents' feelings in that area. We don't feel, traffic-wise, that we're adding a great amount of traffic, and we're at the top of the hill, not at the bottom of the hill, and there's currently ingress and egress there, so it happens. And it's we think, a good transition point. We're not looking for spot zoning, we're looking for the incentive zoning, and, that's up to you people, but at this point, we're looking for some kind of feedback to try to see if it's economically feasible. We have the property under contract.
Before we get into discussion on incentive, in terms of the property under contract, if we look at, we call the general's parcel now, I'm also aware that other family members own other houses from the gentle's family, so there's kind of like a strip of houses. What are we talking about in terms of what's gonna go with this proposed construction?
I believe just the big white house right there.
The
Yeah.
main house
Yeah.
in the market would be demolished?
Yes,
And then other parcels to the east would remain the same?
yes.
But behind those parcels would be the property you would be developing? Your
Yes.
backyards would be the
Yes.
development?
Yes.
Is there any other access to the other Penfield Road, Old Penfield Road? Are you talking access, or is just the access to Penfield Road? Old Penfield Road that goes down by Dolma, Manitou?
Yeah, no, there would be no access. There's a steep grade there. And we don't believe it's buildable there,
No.
so.
Probably not. You said condos, and he said townhouses. Are they both, or one or the other?
Be condos.
Condos. No apartments?
No.
Just strictly
No.
condos.
Rental or ownership?
Ownership.
And Ken or Adam, what was the number again? That,
I believe we're down to 70. We had a more aggressive plan, but we've scaled it back after our first meeting.
Do you have a community center, community room?
We've been talking that up in the front area.
And would there be a range of square footage, or all around, how many different models are we talking about? Are they, I can't see from here in terms of how many are in a row, or variety, like a variety of models?
Interior-wise, we're going to be amenable to the buyers as far as interior layout. And the exterior layout, it's going to be pretty generic, as it is in Allen's Creek Valley, with the one big difference would be masonry instead of the plywood siding that they have.
What are you looking for a price point?
About $325.
Are you looking to seniors versus families? I'm thinking about buses.
Over 50 or
Well, I'm thinking about school buses and so on like that. Are you-
currently, again,
families coming?
mirroring what's existing across the street. They do have a school bus stop, but it's down in the Allen's Creek Valley. It's down at the bottom of the hill. We would be amenable for a stop. I mean, there's enough room on the, I would say to the, you can see in front of the White House, there's enough room in there to do a turnaround, whatever, to pull in off the road, not on street.
Looking at a homeowners association
Yes, sir.
for that area?
Yes, sir.
So the one side it would be facing town land, the open space, which is the farmland. Will that, do you have anything to do with that? I mean, people that are farming that's something totally separate from what,
No, that's,
is that part of it?
You refer to this land up
Yes,
here?
the farmland?
That's adjacent property,
Yeah.
so.
No,
That is town land.
That's-
Yes.
Right.
we don't have, we don't have control of that.
Well, I know, but there's farmers that go into
We
the
have
farmland.
contracting with us to farm.
Right, that is correct.
Setbacks are pretty tight to our property.
Yes.
Yeah, well, that's what I was sort of getting at. Close to- We'd have to make sure people knew that that's town land, you can't be developing or putting your yards. What would that be, the condominiums, would they have yards, would they have a small area?
Yes, they would have
decks, they have-
a back deck, optional cover on the back deck as far as an open valance type cover. And there would be a grass area in the back, and in the front, they would have a patio that they would determine as far as planting, that kind of thing, with an enclosed fence.
Was there any thought to demolishing the house to the east and possibly pulling the road further away from the town property, creating more of a setback?
That's possible.
Then
At
you could
this point-
incorporate more housing on the site, actually, if you got rid of that property.
Again, in our first meeting, there was a question about putting too many units on the property and what we were gonna use to buffer from the road, eyesight. We're not building a 4-story apartment
Right.
complex here, so that's all possible. And in this case, we're just trying to find out the economics and trying to get some feedback.
Which property, outline for me the boundaries of what you have under contract?
I'll just go along with my finger. It's a long rectangular box. The one side's kind of at an angle, but pretty much that's this whole
It
property.
includes those current houses to the east?
Correct.
This one.
This one,
One.
not,
To the road?
not this house.
Right.
Okay.
But this one is.
here.
And again, I'm assuming that secondary, I'm not sure that it's even a legal exit, but there is now, and you can see it on the drawing, they have a secondary way of coming into the market. I'm not sure that would stay, but we're open to that.
Well, and as you say that, now I'm thinking about sight distance between the access point on Old Penfield Road and
Right.
your driveway.
Right.
You don't want them to be that close together either. so.
Right.
So your neighbors is the town of Penfield, that house on the other side of General's Homestead. And what's down deep? Is that Manitou? Is it-
Yeah, we believe that's under contract.
Right,
to
and
a-
that would be the only other neighbor?
Possibly a single-family,
Right.
possibly.
And so you have 3 different entities then?
Kaz, I have 2 questions, and maybe you can answer. One, or maybe Mark too, sewer capability, in terms of units in that area, and also, what does our comp plan say about this area of town?
The sewer capacity is probably there. It's probably not an issue at this point in time. The comp plan, the last comp plan, 2010, calls for this to be single-family residential at this point in time.
This was under consideration by the committee with Manitou Lake as possibly incorporating these lots in as mixed use.
Mixed use, yeah.
Obviously, that recommendation hasn't come before the board yet, but that was under consideration of the Manitou Lake steering committee.
So comp plan of 2010 has it at conventional zoning, single-family R120, with some fluidity based upon our recent committee regarding mixed use in the Manitou Lake area, so perhaps some fluidity there.
And the irony of it is that mixed use would not be consistent with what they're proposing. It's actually more consistent with single-family residential than it is for mixed use. Even theoretically, you could even look at Town Law 281 as a cluster, although they wouldn't get the number of units they're looking for here, but they could do it at 0 setback for the number of units that they're entitled to by code.
approximately 200.
I was gonna say 202,
Yep,
something like that.
you're correct.
No, I mean, that's a good reference, because, you know, you think about the traffic generation or lack of, but they have another entrance, that's what it is.
Right.
Or exit.
Exit, actually. Right, actually, if you come down the hill, you can get in that way.
Right.
Yes. But
Right in,
it's
right
not a
out.
turn-in coming up.
Right, right in,
So-
right out.
Right. It's
It's a good
a
reference.
no-turn zone there. Hopefully.
Other questions, comments, board at this time?
I think I understand it. I have a feel for it now. Visualize it.
And I guess the old block piece is not gonna be developed too.
Well, I don't think that's open to speculation. They're asking about the former Manitou pit. The person that's buying it, I don't think she's made any decisions yet.
That's right. I mean, we understand that as well. No official commitment as to, you know, what could be developed, may not be developed, could be single family, could be something else. So I know that the individual has had some conversations with Mr. Valentine and Mr. Costello, so they're at least aware. Okay.
Do you have thoughts if you don't go along with having incentive zoning for what it is zoned? Do you have another plan about the single?
No.
No, just-
Okay. Board, any other questions at this time? Staff, any other items that you would like to see on the table for the record?
The only thing that comes to mind is, we know how difficult incentive zoning is for you in terms of trying to be equitable and fair to everybody and getting the proper incentive. Mark and Rick and I and Tom and I talked this morning about preparing some type of a list of improvements, public works improvements that could be beneficial to all the residents of the town
Yeah.
through incentive zoning. I know you've been wrestling with this for a while, but we're gonna try and prepare some type of a listing for you to try and figure out a fair and equitable way to deal with incentive zoning for the developers and the town. And we'll try and get that to you as quickly as possible.
Yeah, I think it'd be helpful to have some sort of inventory and a prioritization based upon your experience as far as.
Yeah, we just spoke about that this morning at PRC. We took a first blush look at this. PRC didn't generate too many comments just at the first look. But that's one thing we, you know, as a group sat down and said we were gonna do, is to kind of come up with some ideas, thoughts on what incentives
I
are out
think the
there. what
ideas
needs
are already there, it's just a
improvements
matter of, because we've certainly tossed around, it's
Mhm.
not as if it's gonna be coming out of the blue, some of the priorities within the town.
Right, right.
I'd have to take a look at it from a public safety standpoint, from fire department access and what have you. So that would be my take on this.
Okay. So next steps, typically what happens is we have these type of sketch plan discussions at work session. Typically, the board will take, you know, between now and at least the next work session, which is 2 weeks from tonight, have a little bit of soak time. If they need any additional information, they would ask that via the staff. Staff would go back to Adam or yourself for any additional information. And then we would bring it back to the table. All of our agendas are published the Friday before any of our meetings, so that you'll see if it's on the agenda, and certainly welcome to come back and listen to any further discussion the board has about that. So we'll take, like I say, the next couple of weeks, and if we need anything additional, you'll hear either from Mr. Costello or Mr. Valentine to follow up with that. And if you have any additional information that you believe is pertinent regarding this, we'd welcome, you know, any of that input as well.
Tony,
Okay. Yes,
Is there a
yep.
chance we can get that emailed to us, so we can get a copy of that?
So,
Absolutely.
so if you could get that maybe to either Kaz or Mark,
Yeah,
we can get that, we can get that pushed back pushed out to the board.
Yep.
Okay,
Thanks.
great, thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Adam, thank you for your time. Okay, we'll move on to our second guest. Our second guest is I don't
I'm
see.
Jerry
I
Goldman
was just gonna
tonight.
say, I don't see a Jerry Goldman, but I think maybe that's better than a Jerry Goldman, so welcome, and to the Costage firm, and then also to Mr. Morgan.
Thank you.
So if you'd like to join us at the table, and give you a minute to get your items up on the board. All right, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. Supervisor. So, we're pleased to be here. Bob Morgan is here, the property owner, Mark Cosich, as you know. I think we have a really nice proposal. We are here to request that the board consider rezoning the 33.29 acres that is currently the East Avenue Mobile Home Park. The property is aging. I think Bob was telling me it was probably built in the 50s. It's got quite a few vacancies. Out of the 215 lots, only 122 are occupied. And this is just a great opportunity to redevelop the property. It is adjacent to property that is in the mobile home park district. That is what this parcel is zoned. To the north, we do have a parcel zoned, or it's an area zoned multiple residence, so this would be consistent. Our request is consistent with the adjacent zoning. We're near another, we're near an R120 area, and we're also adjacent to light industrial, so it's sort of a mixed zoned area. I'm sure that the town is aware of some of the issues that have existed with this property, and this is just a wonderful opportunity to build something new and a real quality development to improve not only the property, but the area in general. So the concept plan that you have before you is for a proposed apartment community. It's very consistent with what other projects that Morgan has done. We show a clubhouse that would have all those types of amenities that make for a quality development, a fitness center and community space and a leasing office. We're showing a pool, so there'll be some nice amenities to really make this a nice community. And then we're showing a mix of 7 townhouse buildings, each with 4 units, and 16 two-story apartment buildings, each with 16 units. The townhouses have garages. The apartment buildings have some inside parking and also surface parking. I think that's pretty much a summary of what we're proposing. To do this project, we would need a rezoning, and we'd like to ask that the board consider that and allow us to move forward with this project. So we're happy to answer any questions.
Could you just run through the numbers again? You have 7 townhouse
Buildings,
buildings
each
with
groups of 4.
4, okay, and then there are 16
16
Apartment
two-story buildings,
with
each with 16 units.
So these are the 2-story, 16 unit with 10 parking on either side, or total of 10 parking incorporated. And this is the ranch townhouse style apartment.
Okay.
Part of the philosophy of the layout that we did is that we feel that the 80-foot buffer is the setback is good, but we felt that the view shed to the west isn't quite as good for a multi-story building, so we put a single-story ranch style there. And then these are 2-story. This unit typically in Morgan projects is a 3-story, but to conform with your code, we cut it down.
The 16 units in the apartments, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom,
The ratio's about 50% 1, 40% 2, and 10% 3. That can be, moved around a bit.
And it looks like it's basically would go with rezoning in the existing footprint of that current park? Is there anything?
That's correct. The site lays out well for this kind of more grid style. I mean, it's a long linear site, and we are really occupying similar road patterns to the current project. We would be obviously putting in all new pavements, utilities, and upgrading everything because it is aged. Couple other numbers. I apologize for the size of the text. I think my staff is just trying to make sure that I realize I'm getting older. I can't read any of the plans.
I can see it just fine.
We're on 29.53 acres. We've got, as we said, 284 units. The zoning we're looking at would allow upwards of 367 units. So that ratio is about 12.45 units per acre. We're at about 9.6. We've got 429 surface parking spaces, 220 garage spaces, for a total of 649 parking spaces. 34% would be covered versus the 25 required. And we're at about 2.3 parking spaces per unit versus 2. So we're code compliant.
So how, looking at your rendering here, the back side's got garages in it?
They're actually in the sides, so
Okay.
you drive in and the parking is in the sides, so it makes for a very appealing project. You don't drive in and see a ton of garage doors. We've done this shared arrangement of that we have about 75 feet between, so there's plenty of room. You don't have traffic driving through with people parking, coming out of garages and conflicts. It's really a tried and true layout. Morgan's just did 430 units in clay, and it's really quite a nice project. Did it 2 phases in about 3 years.
Similar product.
Similar product, only 3 stories.
So, just a quick question, because I'm putting my ambulance hat on here for a moment, but was any consideration given to having a looped road system within the site? I mean, it's a very long property, a very deep property, so just out of curiosity, if there was consideration to have a road on the eastern side as well to sort of loop around?
Did come up, I think, during a meeting with Jim early on, and, you know, we're not really looking to have this be a main thoroughfare, but certainly I think we could consider a road. Trying to downplay it more as not being the main access.
Really, I think just for emergency access, I
Okay.
can't imagine anybody really wanting to go back there unless you live there, but for emergency access.
I think more of emergency access and maybe, you know, just tone down, not having the formal curbs
I
and
mean,
sidewalks and.
even just looping the middle 3, and maybe not the first and the 5th.
No, I want to see
You're here, so I was gonna ask you the next question, but that was one of my first things looking at the diagram was that I think it would be better with a looped road. at least from
Absolutely,
that perspective.
no question about it. I'm sorry to say that, but from a fire department response, I gotta think about getting a ladder truck in there. Okay? So, think
We
about that.
understand.
Think about a big ladder truck going down there.
Listening.
What were you intending in the gaps, just grass? Just in between?
There, we try to create, you know, some passive recreation. We will have some stormwater.
No, in between instead of having a road,
Oh,
you
just
green
just
Grass.
green space.
Green space, yeah.
And talking about stormwater, obviously, I know you have to do the calculations, but any idea on sort of where you would place stormwater to address,
Well, I think obviously at the low end would be a great start, and, you know, what we're trying to do more of is create more bioretention areas that are, we're doing some really nice vegetated swales and mixing in rocks and just making it much more interesting. We're probably less pervious or similar to what's there now. I haven't done the analysis, but there's a lot of structure and building in there as it is. A lot of driveways, a lot of, so we're not gonna be, you know, increasing runoff without doing anything. And I'm sure we're going to do something, and engineering will make sure of that.
have a lot of old infrastructure on the site you're gonna have to take off as well.
We believe that, you know, all the services are too small and too old.
Right, yeah. And that was gonna be a comment that I made, Mark, was that, I'm guessing, you know, your initial review and obviously Bob is, as the owner of the property, I mean, one of the things that you've realized is that, you know, that infrastructure was put in back in the 50s, I'm guessing, mid to late 50s, and that I'm guessing everything, you know, both from a water, especially from a water flow standpoint and things like that, and just going through and upgrading that you know, would be very beneficial, obviously, to that whole area.
Right, none of it meets code from a fire, from a potable water. I'm sure there's a lot of things that aren't great.
Probably right.
And that being said, if I were home tonight watching us on TV, and I'm just finding out for the first time we're thinking about this, what's your thought about making them whole in terms of getting them to another location on the site, and what would happen in that case?
Well, we own Forest Lawn down
Right.
the road, and we have a lot of vacancy there as well. We would work with each homeowner that wanted to relocate, to move their home to that park.
You're giving them that option and that opportunity
Yeah.
to do it.
And we would, we would take care of that.
Bob, it seems to me that, and so this is just a casual observation, I guess I'm looking for, am I right or am I off base? But it just seems that, you know, I think you mentioned that 215 lots, currently 125 occupied. My sense is what I'm hearing, not only in your other property, but maybe some of the other parks, that vacancies are high as well.
There's a lot of vacancies throughout I think there's 800 units in this sector.
Mhm.
There's quite a bit of vacancies. I don't have Harper's statistics.
Numbers, sure.
And Sebastian's, but if you drive through it, you'll see there's tons of them. You know, the problem that you run into is a lot of the lots are obsolete. So it's hard to put a home on any of the lots. I mean, because they're so small.
Sure.
And today, the new codes for manufactured housing is, you know, you gotta have good sized lots, and you could barely fit a single wide on, where you can't get a double wide on hardly. There's only a few lots that'll take double wides.
Sure.
And most of the people that buy homes today, you know, want a spacious home and they wanna buy a double wide. So it's hard to make it work.
Got it, all right.
Who owns the property to the east?
Harper?
No, to the,
East,
To the east.
so that's Del Monte?
There are two property owners. Del Monte is one. Del Monte's-
And Elgier,
and
Thermo Fisher.
is the other.
okay, so they're private,
And then north of them is Elms Creek Valley.
well, the creek is in there too.
And there's actually one of the homes is pre-existing conditions, been there for a long, long time, is actually over the property line on Elms Creek Valley's property, which they've asked that, but obviously there were some constraints to be able to do that. Now this is an opportunity to get that fixed.
Any proposed screening on the west side, or how do you see that transition between the two zoning districts working out?
I think Bob's mentioned a big fence.
White fence, big white fence.
Right along that westerly property line.
Yeah, we've done it in Victor, where we built a similar project next to Hunt's community, and we did the same thing. And even Gypsum Mills is a community that we built, with a nice fence to divide it.
So this would all be private,
Yeah.
private roads and
Yes.
utilities.
Would any changes have to be made to where Linden Ave is down by the traffic light, or about, Mark, perhaps Linden Ave for traffic purposes there?
I mean, obviously, once we get to a final unit count, you know, that'll be part of it, look at the traffic, but, you know, comparing unit to unit versus what we have here, you know, that'll be part of, you know, future application would be to study that. You know, Mark's gonna have to submit a drainage report, stormwater pollution prevention plan, so as we get more into specifics, that's some of the stuff that we're gonna have to go through.
Who's, is that a town road, Linden Ave there? Is that a state, is that in the state right away?
I believe it. I think part of it is. We are maintaining some, because I think we put a bus shelter over there several years ago.
Right.
We do that.
Certainly the intersection is state controlled, so
Yeah.
that would be,
Well,
we're
I'm
fortunate to
at
have.
441.
Right.
Right, I'm talking about the little intersection there, back of,
It's a very good question. We have to check that out for you, because I'm not certain what we do and what we don't. We will find that out for you.
And if you mentioned, I apologize, but I'm assuming that all the units, not only the townhomes, but the apartments, all for rent.
That's correct.
And
Correct.
will be maintained as part of the, the Morgan properties.
Correct.
And there's no age restriction or anything of that nature, so. And the reason I'm asking that question, I'm relating it to peak traffic flows to and from the site for work and that kind of thing.
Well, school.
School, yeah.
Right. Okay. Board, any other questions for Mr. Morgan, his legal team or his engineering team?
Bob, it may be a little bit premature. I mean, looking at, you know, the aesthetics of the apartment complex, what kind of rent structure are you thinking about right now? Not holding you to any
Yeah,
numbers, because it's premature, but.
Usually from like $1.20 to $1.45 in that range per square foot, depending on the size of the units and so forth.
How long do you think it would take you to relocate the people from one section to the other one?
I would say 6 to 8 months. You know, to do it right.
Mm-hmm.
Give them time to move and so forth.
Look at other alternatives, right? Thanks. So, as I see, on the two-story plan, a stone facade on the bottom, and then, you know, some type of a wood clapboard or vinyl at the top.
Similar type.
To match.
Carry through.
I was gonna say, kind of carrying it through the whole project.
Very attractive buildings.
We'd have a designer pick out the colors and everything. We just did it at South Point. It'd be very similar to what we're doing at South Point.
Would you look for this to be a phased project, or would you look to do infrastructure all at once and then?
We'd probably do all the site work at once and probably be done in 2 phases.
Build it units by
Yes.
rentals and?
Yeah, we'd have like in 2 sections, you know, 130 units in each section. No, depending on the lines laid out.
You mentioned the 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom. Have you thought about square footage of each of those?
1-bedrooms range from 900 square feet, and then they'll go as high as, you know, the 3-bedrooms could be 1,500 feet. The 2-bedrooms will probably range 11 to 1,200 feet. There'll be some different plans.
Bob had asked, and I'm glad he did, he'd asked to get an idea of how many children live in the area that would have to be relocated. The school district did send that out, and I think you got that via email.
Yes.
Yeah, I think we have, there are 38 students
Yeah.
currently.
Right.
In that
In this
location
area,
today,
yeah.
currently?
Yeah.
We anticipate
Yeah, our projections, you know, based on, you know, experience, is that 5% of the units typically would have children. So we'll probably have less
Percentage
children
goes
with
down.
this.
It's all
With this
Penfield School
project.
District. The other one's Penfield School District as well.
Yeah, because I gotta ask that
Right.
question, it's not
Yeah.
Brighton over there, right?
Right.
No.
No. I don't believe so.
Part of these were Pittsford School
Yeah,
District.
Pittsford schools are part of it.
Somewhere the line splits
Yeah.
through
We-
here.
Maybe
we-
441, but Pittsford is over there, so.
Pittsford's a part of this in here someplace.
Yeah, it was something
We'll
different.
have to look at
Yeah.
the school
Oh,
district lines.
actually, I think that might be, we'll have to double check that.
Somewhere in through here it's split. I know a portion of the mobile home park.
You're right, some of it is
Pittsfield,
Pittsford,
go
but I
through
don't know where the
Pittsford
line
schools.
is.
Okay. Board, other questions, other comments? Staff, any other items that you would like to see out on the record, on the table?
Not at this point.
Okay.
I think we do need to find out the impact of the school districts, make sure everybody's on the same page.
Anything from the Morgan team, any additional comments, input at this point?
I don't think so.
Okay. So similar to, you know, our previous guest that we had, the board will certainly take a look. If they need any additional information, you can reach out to, I'm guessing if it's, you know, having to do with the site or anything like that, reach out to Mark if that's okay. And if anything else, we can run it through from the legal team. And then I would see in the next, possibly in the next couple of weeks back before the board, but again, it'll be contained and published on the agenda. And certainly you can stay in contact with Mr. Valentine, Mr. Costello, obviously welcome to attend, that meeting so that you can hear the discussion with the board. We'll keep you posted around that as well. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Great, thank you very much. Thanks for your time. And board, you have the larger plan here. Is there any need, do you need anything at that? Okay, great. And thank you for that. All right, thank you. Have a great evening.
Thank you, too.
Okay. Okay, we'll move on to our action items. We've got lawn finance, and we'll start with our clerk.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I would like to propose offering Easy Pass on-the-go tags for sale at the town clerk's office for the convenience of our residents. Recently, I was at the New York State Town Clerk Association Conference and met with the New York State Transportation Authority, and I met with a number of other town clerks to discuss this. And it seems like a wonderful thing to offer our residents is some more customer service in our office. Also, we have DMV here, mobile DMV here on Tuesdays. And, it'd be kind of a one-stop shopping where they go do their business over at DMV, or they even do their business that they need to at our town clerk's office, and then they can also purchase this. I don't think anybody likes to stand in line at the toll booth and wait in those long lines. And I don't think anybody likes to be looking for loose change, and they're in a hurry to get to work or to go on a vacation. So Easy Pass lanes normally go, very fast, very smoothly, so there's no waiting. The authority the Transportation Authority said they would sell the tags to us for $21. It needs to be sold for $25. This is kind of a break for us, where we would be making $4 a tag, and so it's no cost to the town. Basically, the person would come in, they would purchase it for $25 at the town clerk's office. We would give it to them. They could and we'd give them the information what they need to do next, which would be to either go online to register their tag, or they would need to just give a call to the 1-800 number. Once they've registered the tag, then they would be able to start using it right away, and that $25 that they paid us, the authority would put into their account, and they could start using that.
Yeah, that's how it works, no matter where you.
That's the way it works everywhere, and there's nowhere that sells them for less than $25.
Right. I think they have to sell them for 25, no matter,
Yes.
they can't sell them for more.
Right,
Yeah.
or less.
So you said that there's some of the other surrounding towns do this. What's been their experience? So in other
So
words,
I'll
when
give
you buy, when you buy them in, or when you acquire them in lots of whatever, 20, 25,
You have to buy
30.
25.
Okay. So how long does it take to process through 25 in
Okay.
some of the surrounding towns?
So I'll give you an example of one of our closest towns, which is Webster. Webster started selling Easy Pass less than 6 months ago. They sold 100, so they made $400 in less than 6 months.
So you have an upfront cost to buy.
We have to do an upfront cost, so if you have to buy at least one package, so that's gonna be $25, times 25, so 525 or whatever. And then, pretty much, we would get that money back and more. They would, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that they give us signs and decals and all that stuff. We could obviously have it in our window, we could advertise on our website, we could put a sign over by the door for DMV on Tuesdays. So we could definitely give a lot of exposure to that so that they would know that we have it.
Does DMV or any locations at DMV sell these tags?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
And locally, they're available 24 hours at Wegmans.
Yes.
24 hours at Tops.
Yes.
At AAA.
But people don't seem to purchase,
That's where I got mine.
except for,
You can- you
except for Paula, she purchases over there.
You can get them online, and then they send it to you in the mail.
That's what I
Yeah.
heard too.
So my question is certainly, you know, I'm all for providing more services to our residents, but at what cost and whether there really is the need. I've never had anyone ask me, you know, please, 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 I want to get my Easy Pass at the town
So
hall.
one thing you mentioned, which you said, they order it, it comes in the mail. We would have them right there. So there's no, they're not waiting. They get their tag when they purchase it from us.
So how many residents in the last year have asked you, do you sell Easy Pass here?
3.
Okay. So I'm trying to balance the amount you have to buy up front. With, and I also think in terms of just from government services, you say, well, we make $4 a tag. Well, in government, things cost money to process. You'd have to have somebody doing that.
They are
you
giving
know.
us a,
So-
well, in that case, they are giving us a deal, which they're giving all the towns this deal, so that it helps sell for them.
Right, right. So it's not as if we make $4 a tag, but, you know, it's not as if there's, like DMV, Cheryl Denolfo has the mobile DMV because that enables the county to have more money come back to the county versus the state when you process your transaction.
So this is money going straight to us instead of to the state. So they're doing a cut for themselves so that we could sell it. So everywhere else is selling it for 25, we'd be selling it for 25, but we're getting them for 21.
Is that the same for commercial locations? Like, does AAA pay $21 for them?
I don't believe so. According to the Transportation Authority in the month of April when I was at the conference.
So the town would have to buy batches of 25
Yes,
at $25 a piece.
yes.
$21.
$21 a piece,
Okay.
and turn around and sell it for 25.
Do you have money in your budget right now that you could?
I have money in my budget right now, but what I would like to propose for the next budget cycle is to actually give it its own line, or if we didn't do that, it could go under my supply line.
Yeah, I was gonna say, where would you take the money from in an existing?
My
budget?
supply
Because it wouldn't
line.
be an additional money given.
Right now, you're taking.
And right now, I could take it from there.
Does it take long to set it all up?
Not at all. Basically, we would have to pass, I would have to write up a resolution. The board would have to pass the resolution. Once that's passed, there's an application that either I or our town supervisor would fill out. We would run it by our town attorney. And then, once we send that in and we can scan it and email it or fax it in, then basically within that week, we would get the supplies and begin starting to sell, even if they actually haven't received all the resolution and the application yet. We can start selling, we just have to pay them within 45-day period.
Okay.
I'd be curious to know what Wegmans or Tops gets theirs for. Well, I mean, if they get theirs for $16 because they're buying 2,000 at a time, I'd be curious to know what.
Well, as I said, that when I was at the conference and spoke to, they had a booth there, they said that at that time, they were receiving it for $25.
So they're making nothing, so Wegmans is making nothing and in fact incurring expenses to sell Easy
Right.
Pass, because you pay $25 there. I can't imagine that, but maybe that's the case.
I can only say what they told me.
Okay. Other questions, board? All right. We'll take some time to noodle through this. All right. Great.
Thank you very much.
Excellent. Thanks, Amy. Go straight home.
I'm going to. Have a good night,
All
everyone.
right. Very good.
Bye.
All right, we'll continue on law and finance, setting operational permit and periodic inspection fees. The late and great Tom Tett has joined us. Three's a charm, sometimes they say. And the floor is yours, sir.
In doing some research on operational permit fees, that is all we were allowed to charge. The fire marshal's office was allowed to charge for operational permits. Operational permits are very limited in the town of Penfield, actually in the New York State Code. Other towns, so let's talk, my vision was to add periodic inspection fees onto this. Some of them are every 3 years, some of them every year, depending on the type of business you run. I also am proposing to raise the fee from $50 to $75. Right now, at $50, we're probably at the bottom third of Monroe County, if not the bottom quarter of Monroe County, in doing my research as far as charging for operational permit fees. So, right now, the fire marshal's office goes in, does an inspection of Acme Dental, does it every 3 years, charges $50. Break it down to $16.66, something of that nature. Now I'm proposing to raise it up to $75. This would bring us up to about the 50 percentile of fees in Monroe County of the 30-plus towns and villages that do this type of work by code. So basically, I'm just looking to bring this up a little bit more, make us a little more current. We went from, I believe, 35 to 50 within the last 5 years. Maybe it was a little longer than that, I might be wrong. And I was not here, it was a Pat Morris call. And now I'm proposing to take it from 50 to 75 to move it. And I'm proposing to put the words periodic inspection in that, not just operational permit fees.
How many do you do a year?
There are 820 businesses for us to do. Obviously, we can't do every business every year, and we don't need to.
It's kind of rolling.
Yeah, we need to do businesses, like I said, as a doctor's office, once every 3 years. We're required to be in there by New York State Fire Code.
So in a year, just in terms of like, I'm thinking of costs, in a year, how many do you do?
That's a great question, because we really ramped up this year. As a matter of fact, Mr. Bean can speak on this. He's very excited about the generation of the fees we've been able to get for the town, because we really ramped up our inspections now. Hiring of assistant fire marshals, put him out there in the field, he's doing his inspections, along with other things, but he's doing inspections every year. I don't really have that number to tell you that. I really don't have that.
So we can get that, I mean, we can get that
Absolutely,
we can get that breakdown.
I'd be curious just to know.
And then I think
Absolutely.
the other important component is that what I think Tom and Jeff David have identified is that we have a number of businesses that haven't been inspected in even more than 3 years.
Oh, it's been 10 to 15 years for some
I mean, there's
businesses that we've been
some
into.
businesses
So there's definitely a backlog.
Absolutely.
Okay.
As
So
I said,
That's
we've
good to know.
identified 820, sir.
Yeah, so as we're
520.
doing as we're seeing some increased revenue, it's just the fact that we are getting into some areas that we have not been into for many years. Some of the larger assemblies that in the more critical ones that we've been in there, but some of the others we have not been in for 8 to 10 to 12 years, and that isn't necessarily the best practice
And
either.
do you start with like a letter in terms of notifying a business? How do you notify, say I'm a business and you haven't
Well, if you're a
knocked on my
business-
door for 6 or 7 years, how do I?
And that's a great question. Let's take the Platinum Building, for example. That one hasn't been touched in 13 years. We went down there and found fire doors that weren't operating properly. We went down there and found businesses that weren't really, what were they doing? We don't even know what they were doing. It's a mixed-use bag. So we walk into businesses, basically, that are open to the public. Those are the ones we walk into and say, hello, Mr. Owner or Mr. Manager, I'd like to inspect your building. This is the way the fire marshal's office operates. We'd like to inspect your building. Is this a good time, or may I make an appointment and come back? So we don't reach out with letters and telephone calls. We generally do foot traffic and go to the businesses. We try to do them geographically also, so if I'm doing the Platinum Building, I'm gonna do some businesses right around that area, around 250, 441 area.
Or you can say in terms of I'm doing my inspections in this area of town now, so trying to get you on the docket. for-
Absolutely, absolutely. And we do meet resistance. We've met resistance in the Platinum Building, where she didn't wanna pay her $50. She hasn't been inspected in 13 years. Why do I have to pay $50 now? We do meet resistance. We're working on things like that. It's good. We haven't experienced this before. It's a new experience for us.
Just by way for the, I went back and took a look that the last time that we established this fee was 2011, Jan 5 for our organizational meeting, 2011. We established the fee for the operation permit at 50, and I believe, unless one of you guys can tell me, I think we moved it from 25 to 50 at that time.
35 to 50.
35 to 50,
35 to 50.
okay. 35 to 50.
And I don't know if it was established in 2011, or that's when we put it in. I don't know if that was the new fee then, if we went from 35 to 50 then. I have to look at the resolution.
Yeah.
Because I don't believe it says that, does it?
Resolution 041, setting operational fees effective 2011.
Okay.
So,
That's what my research told me too, but I wasn't sure if it was
okay.
really.
And then the other note that I made was that it would be called operational permit fire safety inspection fees.
We call it periodic inspection fees. You can call it fire safety, we can call it fire safety inspection.
Well, I think it should be consistent
Are
with
you
what
looking for fire
is
safety
what
matters?
is what the code. I think it's appropriate to do what the code specifically calls
And the code does
for.
address fire safety inspections.
Okay.
Operational permit fees are different. They're required for assembly spaces. You know, if you have a big restaurant, they're required. If you have a movie theater, they're required. If you have a hazardous materials operation, they're required. Let's talk about Home Depot, for example, because they have a lot of hazardous materials there. This fire safety inspection, as you want to call it, I'm very fine with that. It's just.
Well, I think what we should do is we should just we should check with what the the uniform code calls, so that it would seem that the wording that we have
We can marry that up.
should marry
We can
that up.
I believe it's called fire safety inspections in part 1203
Okay.
of the uniform code.
So, so let's check on that. I think a couple of board members would like to see what our numbers are for this year,
I can do that.
so that we have that, and certainly the board can can digest this over the next couple of weeks and get that information out as soon as we can, so they have that. Then we can bring this back to the table in 2 weeks.
Absolutely.
Other questions, board, at this point?
Sounds good.
Okay. Anything else we need for the record?
No,
Okay.
sir.
All right, great. You'll get that fed back directly to the board?
Yes, sir.
So that they have that information?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thanks, Tom.
Great.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you. All right, before I jump into the hold harmless, I'm going to take some flexibility in the agenda, and I'm going to skip down to Public Works salt rack storage system. And not that the hold harmless isn't important, we'll come back to that. But I've got 3 individuals that in a very short order are going to be standing tall at the DBW office sometime between about 5:45 and 6:15. So I want to make sure that we allow for that as well. So
Awfully generous of you, Tony.
I know. They've had a tough couple of days, so I'm trying to keep them.
Really wet.
Trying to keep them. I got
So
one
we
right.
understand.
So with that, as Tom, you're welcome to stay, but I would say that if you
would like to go.
if you would like to move on to bigger and better things, I would think that young Ms. Tet might see that as a positive thing, and I would advocate taking her out for ice cream.
We already did Chipotle, so
All right.
could be next.
Yeah, there you go.
Thank you very much.
All right, very good. Okay, Mr. Gieselman, thank you.
Okay, well, thanks for giving us the opportunity to come and present the information tonight. If you recall, we had been here earlier in the year and talked about our need or our want to replace our current storage rack system for our salters at the DPW. I'll go through the 5 reasons why we want to do it. The current rack was not designed by or signed off by a structural engineer, so we have no real drawings or anything related to it. The current rack was welded by members of the DPW team, none of which were certified welders, which is what you really would want to have when you're doing that kind of structural work. All the hooks, chains, and straps that we're currently using to hang the salters have never been inspected or updated or whatsoever. The guys have...
They're rusty.
Yeah, they're tired. One of the key issues is in order for an employee to remove a salter from the truck, the employee must climb up onto the salter to attach or detach the chains and the hangers, and we really have no way to put them in any kind of fall protection system, so it does present a real good opportunity for somebody to slip, fall, and get a pretty serious injury. And typically, the most times we're doing this is winter season, so if we've got to get salters in and out for brush or whatever, that's when the guys are out there doing that work. And the last item is the current salter rack is not large enough to hold all of our current salters, so we've made some homemade carts that we kind of set them on, that they kind of rock back and forth and shift around on. So we did go out for bid. We had engineering drawings. We contacted 5 suppliers. 2 of them chose to bid Alloy Materials Handling. Their bid came in at $145,915 with a scrap credit of $2,200 for a total cost of $143,715. We went to the Fred Nudd Corporation. They're just right out on 104. His bid came back at $114,750 with a scrap credit of $1,000. So his final price was $113,750. Let's see, I've got an extra 0 in there. After we received the bids, we asked Mark Valentine to come down and meet with the DPW team along with Lyle Nudd just to walk through the entire project. At that point, Lyle suggested that we add some backer plates on some of the beams to keep the beams from twisting and to keep the bolts from pulling through. We agreed that that was a good thing and the correct action to take. We asked Lyle to submit us a quote for this additional work. Lyle submitted a cost for this as option 1. The cost was $3,400. We asked the Lyle Nudd Corporation to break down the cost, so if we wanted to phase it for one reason or another, we'd know exactly what each piece of it cost. So the structural steel just for the rack itself is $41,398. The labor to install the rack materials is $36,563. All the materials and the labor to modify the salters is $39,828. That would all be done at his shop out on the ridge, minus the scrap credit again of $1,000. So total cost for the project would be $116,790. And then the last piece that we would have to purchase would be a set of hydraulic forks that would go onto our loader and allow us to slide into the pockets that we would be building into the salters to pick them up and then set them on that rack. So we're looking at a total project cost of $144,190.
My first question is actually more of bid procedure, in that we had 2 bids come in, with Fred Nudd being the lowest bid, and then the town asked for an additional bid for that extra work, and I don't know if we would need to have the opportunity for Alloy to bid that as well.
We're gonna
reconfigure their bid. I'm just talking more procedurally and making sure that we're legitimately looking at a total cost.
So, so Rick, correct me if I say anything that's not accurate. ALOI, we prepared the specs and put the specs out, so both individuals took a look at the specs. One of the caveats that we had in the specs is that here is what you can bid on if you have another thought or an idea.
All right.
That is something that you can submit as well.
Okay. So
And
that opportunity was given to,
Right.
okay, then
Yep,
I'm fine,
yep,
thank you, I'm
exactly.
fine with that.
So we didn't go back to them, that was submitted in addition.
So they had the opportunity either to follow our specs or to offer an alternative, which NUD did.
And it really just took a personal meeting to be able to offer that, because they had to take a look at that and.
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm satisfied with that.
And
Thank
the
you.
thing we wanted to do is we wanted to make sure that the team, as well as Mark from an engineering standpoint, had an opportunity to just talk about that, because the thing that we were looking at was certainly the delta between ALOI bid price and NUD. And we wanted to make sure that there was no concerns, issues as it related to, structural or any concerns there. And then that option one. Now, we did indicate that Dick Horowitz will be in on Friday morning.
Okay.
And we have talked about making sure that, from a town attorney standpoint, that he's comfortable with that as well, Paula.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
I'm satisfied with that.
And then my only other comment was gonna be that I think when you spoke to us, and so this was back about mid-April, you had talked about the price for the forks were approximately $27,000. And so it looks like you've nailed that price down
Yes, yeah,
more.
we've got a firm quote. Yep.
More firm quote,
Yeah.
okay.
So, how quickly could this be done? I'm assuming if we were to move forward, it could be done before this coming snow season?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
And the bulk of this would this be not town labor or town labor?
It would be, the only part we would do would be to truck the salters back and forth to the shop.
All right.
Yeah, the quote included all labor, all materials, including modifications to the salters.
All right.
I certainly think that it's a necessary project to undertake, given your extensive investigation and letting us know what the current practice is. It's certainly,
And, Bob can
Concerning.
testify, one of the guys did,
He fell and caught
because I've
himself.
seen where they are, and you're
Yeah.
talking wintertime and
yeah,
in the elements.
yes, yep.
Yeah. So I'm prepared
You know,
to.
you're
propose we
constantly
go forward.
with wet feet, so and
Absolutely.
you're climbing on steel, so it's slippery.
It's not
And,
something you want happening on
Yep.
your watch.
yeah.
So we, just to reinforce, this item, I think some of this discussion now is coming up close to a year when we actively started. I think there was some discussion prior to that, but I think when it actively came forward to the risk management team, we had First Niagara, who was our consultant, and we had them come over and take a look, raised concerns on their end. And so for the last at least 9+ months, the team has been working on different alternatives, what could we be doing better, different, and what have you. Again, with it recognizing that we have had a couple of incidents and a few near misses as well, and making sure that we are, doing our due diligence from a safety standpoint. So I think after a lot of vetting out over the last 9 months, I believe the team, has come up both from the engineering standpoint, the review of the team and the operation and the operators. I know Mark had the opportunity to be part of that most recent conversation. So I think they've done a nice job of vetting that out.
And I would just add that, I think I had mentioned a prior discussion in terms of insurance coverage, insurance carrier to run this by them once completed,
Okay,
would be my
Yeah.
suggestion, as opposed to now. But also, in terms of the work that the NUD Corporation would do, is there any ongoing maintenance that would have to occur with these? Is this kind of a one-shot, one time?
it should be.
No
yeah.
warranty needed, nothing
Yeah.
like that,
No.
just a,
No. And the only suggestion that he did make to us was that to allow the structure to sit in the elements for the year, because there's gonna be a lot of that steel is gonna slag off. He says, so if we wanted it painted right now, everything would have to be sandblasted and then coated and painted.
So structurally, it would be okay as soon as
Yeah.
it's good to
Soon as
go?
it's
It's
done,
just
well.
from
Soon
a
as he's
matter of
done.
aesthetically, if you want
Yes.
something
Yep.
done.
Yep.
Okay.
And he said just, and his recommendation would be to let it sit a year, and then we can go up there and hand paint it and, make it look presentable.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Board good?
Yep.
All right, good, nice job, guys,
information, yeah.
and all the work that you put on this and what have you. So why don't we put let's have the conversation with Dick Friday morning. So Rose, either yourself and/or Rick, we can spend a couple of minutes with Dick just to make sure that we've got I's dotted and T's crossed. And then we can look at putting forth a resolution for the board.
Okay.
Okay?
Sounds
Great.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time, guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, we'll go back to hold harmless Valentine.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Passed around a request from a neighbor at 10 Starcrest Lane. They would like to install an in-ground pool in their backyard. But in looking at the plan and dealing with the pool installer, came to their attention that they do have a drainage easement, which is also part of a water course EPOD. We do have a 75-foot path. They have the map that just kind of shows the water course EPOD through there, and then the blue line shows the actual line of the creek. So the line of the creek, as you can see, is actually off of their property. But just with the EPOD, our EPOD for water course is basically, two of them have the easement on it, two of them do not. But showing where the water course is off of their property, the EPOD is basically an area we need to look at, make sure we're not impeding flow in that area. I have worked with the pool installer to locate the pool outside of that easement. So they've adjusted their plans to slide the pool out of it. And your sketch on page 2 of this little packet kind of shows where they're looking to put the pool. So they've moved the pool outside of that easement area, but they're asking for relief to install a corner of the fence and then obviously some grade to grade that out in the area. So I informed them that not only they'd have to get an EPOD permit for impact of the EPOD. We can work with if the board is supportive of that, work with the town clerk to get that. And then 2, get a hold harmless agreement, knowing that they're in a drainage easement, and if we ever had to come in and do some work in that drainage easement and the fence had to be taken down, basically it's at their cost to put the fence back up.
So just a standard hold harmless, nothing that we've done in the past consistently?
We should, yeah, I mean, we
Yeah.
would submit a resolution
Sure.
authorizing the supervisor to sign it. Could put that in for next week, and inform them that's kind of the process for it. So they're kind of waiting to see what the board's thoughts are on that.
And so, as I was taking a look, Mark, this, I see there's approximately 10 to 15 feet, depending upon where you are, of a fill, of a grade line.
The taper of the grade.
And all of that, is all of that fill outside of the EPOD itself?
The EPOD is the black dashed line, so that fill would be partially in the EPOD. Right now it is maintained grass, so they're not impacting what is trees, they're not taking trees down or into the water area. But the black dashed line that goes through, mine's colored, maybe it helps more with the colored version.
Yeah, no, I got,
Black
I'm
dashed
good.
line
Yep,
shows the
thank you.
EPOD area, and then the approximate grade line on mine is yellow, and they did the fence as red outside of it.
Okay.
So it's the corner of the fence, and then obviously in-ground pool, you have some of the spoils tapering that out
Sure.
around the pool. But based on the aerial photo and the site visit, it wouldn't be impacting any existing trees or clearing any additional area up to the creek. And then pulling up our aerial photos and the topography, and actually the creek is off of their property, it's on the property behind them, but they still have the EPOD buffer across the back of the rear of their property.
Okay. We're good with that resolution for Friday noon? That works, Mark?
Okay.
Okay. That completes our agenda for this evening. And seeing no further business to come before the board, the June 10th, 2015 Town Board Work Session will stand adjourned at 8:40.